Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 181, and we are talking right now with our regular returning guest, Nick Kalikas, who is a professional MMA odds maker and a consultant for numerous sports books on MMA odds making. And our call-in guest is also an MMA analyst with MMAoddsbreaker.com, Frank Trigg. And Frank Trigg, of course, has a unique perspective, always analyzing MMA fights because he, of course, is a former UFC welterweight contender. All right, guys, let's start out with Lawler Hendricks. The rematch, right? Right now I'm seeing Hendricks minus 220, Lawler plus 180 on the other side at 5 dimes. The total is 4.5. The over is minus 120, under minus 110. And, the question is just what do we think is going to happen different from this fight than last fight? Hendricks is looking to, sort of carve out a niche as one of the elite, welterweights in history. And Lawler is just trying to, avoid a bad judge's decision, I guess. Frank Trigg, what do you think we're going to see that's the same in this fight as from the last one, and what might be different?
Well, my pick is Hendricks. I've always been on the Hendricks bandwagon. I think he's the better of the two, but here's the problem. Hendricks' boxing style is a very powerful, strong, straight, stay in front of you kind of style with his chin completely up. If he continues to do that with a guy like Lawler who has a 2-inch reach advantage on him in length, but also can hit just as hard in the 5th round as he does in the 1st round, even though literally Johnny could beat him every single round up into the 5th round and get knocked out. So this fight is going to be very, very game to the very end, and Lawler's never out of it. I am picking Hendricks, but it's very, very close because Lawler does hit so hard and has great takedown defense, as we saw in the 1st one. I think this fight's going to end up going 5 rounds, just like the 1st one did. I don't see much of a change. I see Hendricks winning again in a decision, but Lawler's always in the game. He knocked me out when we fought. Hendricks always, when we practiced together, Hendricks always gave me problems in the takedown game and the control game. So this fight for me is the best fight on this entire card by far, and very close to call.
All right. Well, then at the current odds, with Robbie Lawler a pretty significant underdog, does that mean that you think that betting value might lie with Lawler? Because right now, the markets are giving Hendricks about a 65% chance of winning.
Absolutely. If you're going to lay money down, you got to put on Lawler because he is such a game underdog.
All right. Well, Frank Trigg liking Johny Hendricks to win, but the betting value he believes lies with Lawler at plus 180. Nick Kalikas, what has the betting action been since the last time we spoke on this fight?
Well, it's actually been back and forth. We're about steady right now in most sports books. There's going to be a tremendous amount of action bet on this fight, period. Based on their last fight, it was, fight of the year candidate, arguably one of the best fights in the UFC of all time. It was great. And you know what? People know that both these guys are game, so you're going to get tremendous amount of support on Robbie Lawler, and you're going to get tremendous amount of support on Johny Hendricks as well. Now, as we all know, in their last fight, it was relatively close. It came down basically to that last round. So from a betting perspective, I was all over Robbie Lawler last time, and it was unfortunate it didn't quite cash. It was obviously pretty close to cashing there, but, Hendricks deserved the nod. And also after the fight, it did come out that Hendricks was a little bit banged up. He had a hurt arm, so he's had some injuries he's recovered from as well. So as far as the line perspective goes, there's going to always be a tremendous amount of support for Hendricks, and being that he's supposed to be a little bit recovered now and a little bit more fresh coming into this fight, I think that I can see that as well. So we'll probably need Robbie Lawler at the sports books at the end of the day. All
right, so you think you're going to need Lawler, but basically you're also going to be getting big public action that's basically split both ways, right?
Yeah, correct. I do think so. So we're not going to have a huge decision, believe it or not, on this fight. It'll be relatively close. But again, we probably want to side with Lawler here. I agree with Frank. It's a dog or pass situation for sure. Even though I think Hendricks can edge him out again, I do think that you're kind of crazy laying that kind of juice against a power striker like Robbie Lawler. He's proven that he's definitely one of the top-tier welterweights right now on the planet. He's always dangerous. He's at the top of his game right now by far, I think, mentally and physically. So Lawler's a very dangerous guy to be laying any juice against.
All right, but it sounds to me from what you're saying that you don't anticipate that these odds are going to move much by, from here on in.
Well, we might see some support again with parlays and everything else. We could see it bounce up a little bit. We should see some sharp action actually coming in on the underdog as well. So we could see a little bit of movement back and forth, but I think it's going to stay ballpark to 2-1.
All right, and Frank Trigg, let me just ask this before we wrap up. For people looking for a more precise angle on this fight, if you wouldn't recommend a bet on Lawler or Hendricks, is there any kind of prop or way that you think this fight might play out, like maybe the total or a prop that you think might have a little bit better value than taking Lawler here at plus 180?
I'm not sure what what's the over/under on this one for
4.5 rounds, and the over is it's about even. The over is minus 120. The under is minus 110.
Yeah, you might as well take the over. This fight's going 5 rounds for sure. This one's going to get in the 5th round.
All right.
and it's going to be late. It's going to be late in the 5th round if there's going to be any kind of knockout stoppage. I don't think Hendricks has the ability to make the stoppage early or late, rather, and the only one that does really is Lawler. So, obviously, if I'm going to take a prop bet, it's going to be a decision, 5-round decision, and then pick your choice.
Okay, awesome analysis, guys. Frank Trigg leaning Lawler by decision, but the general consensus is that these odds are pretty dead on. Thanks so much, guys.
The SBR Network offers free sports picks and game breakdowns, big money free betting contests year-round, a real-time Vegas-style odds monitoring service, and much more. So come see for yourself. To stay updated on SBR news and promotions, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Google+, and do be sure to subscribe to the Sportsbook Review YouTube channel to catch all our daily sports shows.